Good day, Professor Breaker here with New Mexico State University. In this video, we're going to be learning about Vim, V-I-M, also known as VI. It is a text editor for Linux. It also has a Windows version of this, and it's really for doing command line text editing. And Windows typically use Notepad or some other Notepad++ or something like that. You can install Vim in Windows and use it there. It's great. Windows hasn't had a text editor since Edit, way back in, I think, Windows 98 or something way back in the past. Whereas Linux has multiple command line editors. VI or Vim is the most common one. They also have Emacs and Nano, and there's several other ones available, but those are the most common ones. So in this one here, we're going to use the VI or Vim in Linux to get familiar with it. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a directory and switch into it. And with that directory, then we're going to download some files that we can play with while we're working on Vim. First file I'm going to download is behind our NMSU firewall. It's just a simple text file that we're going to do some searching around in. It makes it good to use that for command. The next one we're going to download is we're going to clone a Git repository on GitHub. It's basically under the Docker subdirectory and has a bunch of compose files for different Docker configurations that are already pre-configured. Let's go ahead and open up the John Smith or John Adams. We're using VI and then the name of the file. In this case, johnadams.txt. And there we have the text of johnadams.txt. I'm going to open up a new terminal window so we can jump between them. I'm going to hold the Control and the Shift key down and hit T for a new terminal window. And we can have a second terminal window. Again, I'm working within the GUI of a Rocky Linux distribution here. I'm going to use that, and I'm going to open up the Elasticsearch compose file. So I'm going to do and I'm using tab to autocomplete. And it's not finding. Let's see what's there here. There we go. Okay, and so this is a typical configuration file. It's a compose configuration file for Docker Compose, and something like this is what we would be using. It's a YAML configured file. I'm going to hold the Alt key down, hit 1 to get back to the first tab, and so here we go. We'll start out with this one here. Now, the first thing I want to do is let's practice with the search function. So let's go ahead and hit the /. Now this is right down by the question mark key. It's a slash that's on the question mark key, and we're going to type in the word plot. And you can see that you can find the word plot. And hit enter, and it's going to turn yellow for us. Hit N, and it's going to take us to the next one. And if we hit the bottom, it'll go to the top. And we really can't tell here if we're going up or down. So let's try a different word. Let's go /kings. And hit enter. Okay, so now we've hit the word kings. I hit the letter N for next. And you can see that here there's a whole bunch more here. And it looks like we're probably going down, but it's hard to tell without any kind of telling us where we are. So let's go ahead and turn on line numbering. Now if we do a colon set number, we can turn on line numbering. And you notice the line numbering here. Let's go ahead and go to the first line here. You can tell that the line numbering basically is every time there's a hard return hit, it starts a new line number. So it's almost like paragraph numbering, because the soft returns are ignored. So here we have basically every paragraph has its own line number. All right, so now if we do a /kings and search for kings, you can see that we have one in paragraph 6. I hit N, and it takes us to paragraph 7. And it looks like there's 5 in paragraph 7, there's 2 in paragraph 8, 1 in paragraph 12, 1 in paragraph 16. And then we're back up to 6. All right, that's fun. Now we can see that we're searching down the file using the /. Now let's go to the end of the file. Now the easiest way to go to the end of the file is using GG, hitting G twice. Whoops, that takes us to the beginning. Let's just use a shift G. The uppercase G will take us to the end. So GG will take us to the beginning. An uppercase G will take us to the end. So let's do a question mark kings. And you can see that we've started out at paragraph 16. We hit N and it goes up to paragraph 12. Hit N again, goes up to paragraph 8, and we're going up the file. So searching down, use the /, searching up, use the question mark. All right, and we get to the very first one in paragraph 6. So that's how we can search up and down. There's another thing we can do, and let's jump over to the other file for that. So I'm going to use the Alt-2 to get to my other file here, configuration file. Let's go to the beginning of the up to line 1 here. Now the way to do that, another way to do it, we did the Shift-G, the uppercase G. Another way to do that is to use the opening bracket right next to P, the square bracket right next to P, and hit it twice, and that'll take us up to the very first line. Let's go ahead and turn on line numbering. So we're doing a : set number. And you can see that turns on line numbering. If we want to turn it off, it's a : set no number. And actually you can do no num. And oops, I guess it : set no. There we go. It does see autocomplete. That removes the number. All right. So here, let's do something neat. Now, one thing that is really interesting with Python and with the YAML files, it's very critical that we have all of our things in alignment and our tab spacing correct. We can check tab spacing by just doing a / and do space. And here we can see that if you're using 2 space tab spacing, you can see everything should be touching the yellow. At the beginning of every line, it should be touching the yellow. If it's not, we would know, okay, we've got a wrong number of spaces in there. Let's go ahead and create that problem here. Let's go down to line, let's say 14 here. And we're going to do, we're just going to hit the delete and remove 1 space. Now if I do a / space, you can see that we have an extra space here. That would tell me that it's not using the 2 space alignment. So now I have to either indent it or extent, but I know that it's not lined up at the beginning with all the rest of my alignments. Again, important in Python and Linux, very, very important in Python and YAML. Okay, let's go ahead and I'm just going to hit the U to undo that. That puts it back out where it is. Another thing we can do is if we wanted to replace lines, we could, or search for the beginning lines, do a / and we do the upper caret, that's Shift-6, and then 2 spaces. And that tells us, okay, here's our first 2 spaces. These are all the ones that line up on the 2 space marks. So Elasticsearch, Logstash, and Kibana. Now this is a Docker file, Docker configuration file that's going to use 3 different containers. So you see the word services, and then there's 3 different containers. There's the Elasticsearch container, there's a Logstash container, and there's a Kibana container. And those should be lined up because everything inside of them are the properties. And then I can do space again, and I can see all my properties that are lined up, and then my sub-properties again with 2 more spaces. And these are indented 6. All right. So again, using the upper caret shows us the beginning of the line. It means start at the beginning of the line. Okay, so that's something fun to do. Let's go ahead. We've turned on line numbering, turned it off. Let's do a search and replace. And for this, let's jump back over to the first one. So I'm going to do an Alt and hit the number 1 to get back to our first file here. Let's say that I wanted to replace the word kings with rulers throughout the whole document. Now, there's an easy search and replace feature in Vim. It is just : to search every single line or every paragraph, you do a %s, meaning search through everything, through every line in this document. We're searching for kings. Okay, so %s, a / kings. We're going to replace it with the word rulers, and we want to replace all of them. Hit enter, and there we go. We have a search and replace. If I do a / kings, just to search for kings again, it'll say patterns not found. If I do a / rulers, you'll see that we're finding it in 16. If I hit N, we're going to find it in 6. There's like 5 of them in 7, 2 of them in 8, and another one in 12. So you can see that we've replaced all of the word kings with rulers throughout the whole file. Now, let's go ahead and undo that. And now you can see that the word kings is back. So hitting U, I hit the letter U to undo. You know what? I really like that. Let's go ahead and hit the Control R, and we're going to redo. Okay. So very much like Control Z and Control R. Undo in Linux or in VI is using the letter U. Control R is redo. So undo, redo. I'm going to undo it again, and there's our kings are back. This time, let's take a look and say, I don't want to replace kings in every line. I don't want to replace all the kings. I just want to replace the first kings in every paragraph. So again, let's take a look at this. I'm going to do, instead of the %s, actually, let's do the %s. Now that means search every single line or every paragraph for kings. Replace it with the rulers. But I'm not going to put the /g. The /g means switch global, which means all of them. Now if I hit enter on that, and then I do a search for kings, you'll notice that the first one shows up in paragraph 7. Now there was one in paragraph 6, but now there's first one's in paragraph 7. If I look at paragraph 7, there's only 4 of them. And if I go look right about here, you can see it replaced the first kings with rulers. Okay? And I'm going to hit N. I'm going to go through. There's 4 of there. There's only one of them in paragraph 8. There was 2 of them. And again, there's none in paragraph 12, none in paragraph 16. So what it did, let's look at the command that we did. We can hit the colon, hit the up arrow, we'll bring back the last command. And what we did is we searched every single line for the word kings, and we replaced it with rulers. But it only replaced the first one. If we had the /g on there, that means global. That remains replace all of them in each of the lines. But if we tell it to replace kings with rulers, and we don't put the G, it's only going to replace the first one. All right? Let's go to, let's go ahead and undo that. I'm going to undo these so we have kings back. And now let's look at a different way of doing it. Let's go to, I'm going to go to line 7. And in line 7, let's say that I want to replace all of them in just paragraph 7. Now this one I can do an S, :S. Now I'm not doing a %s because I don't want to look at all of the lines. I just look at this line here. Kings, rulers, G. Again, now this is going to be global, but it's only global for what's searched. So there's this what we're replacing and what we're searching for. In this case, we're just searching for this line, and G means replace everything. Okay? So we replaced everything in 7 with kings and rulers. Now if I do a slash and search for kings, you can see that there's in line 8. I hit N to go to 12, and goes to 16, and goes to 6. Again, we just replaced all of the words kings in paragraph 7. Okay, let's go ahead and undo that. Again, hit the letter U. This is the fun part of this. People get worried. They make changes in their configuration files and they're like, oh no. Well, you can always hit U to undo it if you think you've messed things up. All right, so there's kings. So we brought our kings back to paragraph 7. Now let's say I want to replace only one instance of the word kings, the first instance of the word king. Again, :s /kings. Now this is telling it to search just this paragraph, /rulers. And then I'm not going to do a G because I just want to replace the first one. There we go. We just replaced the first one in this paragraph. If we go through the rest of them, you left all of the other lines alone. See, so we still have it in 6. We have 4 of them instead of 5 of them in 7. And we have 2 of them in 8 yet. And we have it in 12 and 16. So there we go. We did a search and replace. Okay. Now, it's a very simple configuration. One thing you can do, and again, I've showed you this before, is you can use the colon and then hit the up arrow to see the previous commands that you did. So, quick quiz, S, kings, rulers, this only replaces the first one in the current paragraph. S, kings, rulers, /G replaces all of them in the current paragraph. %S, kings, rulers replaces the first one in every paragraph. And %S, kings, rulers, /G means replace in every paragraph, replace every instance of the word kings. So basically, every instance in the whole file. All right? Quick refresher on search and replace, and it's very simple. All right. Let's talk about undo and redo. Now we've already done undo and redo. I guess we've been doing it right along here. All you have to do is hit the U, letter U, and it will undo. A Control R will redo. So simple undo and redo is available in VI with simple command line strokes. Let's talk about navigation, just getting around a file. I'm working on a file. I'm going to go up to the beginning of the file again. We used the Shift G will take us to the beginning. I'm sorry, Shift G will take us to the end. GG will take you to the beginning. The other thing is to use the bracket next to the letter P. So the first bracket to the right of the letter P, hitting that twice will take us to the beginning. Hitting the next one twice will take us to the end. That's probably the easiest way to get back and forth from beginning to end, is just using those brackets, hitting them twice. There's no shift involved. Now, if I wanted to go directly to a line, I can do a :15. And that'll take me directly to line 15. :20 will take me directly to line 20. Now this is really handy. So for instance, if I'm doing a configuration file, I'm doing a vhosted configuration file, and I mess something up in that vhosted configuration file, and I go and I restart Apache, and it says failure to restart, error on this file, line 20. All I have to do is do a colon, open the file up, do a colon line 20, and I'm right at the file or the line that has the error in it. So it's kind of handy that way to be able to jump right directly to the line number. Now again, turning line numbering on really helps that way too. Now, if I want to get to the end of a word, if I hit the letter E, it's going to take me to the end of the next word. If I keep hitting E, it's just going to take me word by word to the very last character of the next word. If I hit the letter B, B takes me to the beginning of the previous word. So again, you can go across and go back and forth using B and E to get to the end of it. If you want to get to the end of the paragraph, you can use the $. So on this, we're on paragraph 20. I use the $. It takes me to the very end of the paragraph. Let's say I want to edit something at the end of that paragraph. Or if I want to get to the beginning of the paragraph, I can hit 0. Okay, 0 is like the first column or first character. So you can jump back and forth from beginning to the end using 0 and $. That works kind of handy, especially if you're working in configuration files. Like this one here, if I'm up here and I'm going to go to the end of this line, I get to this one and I want to edit the end of that line, and hit the $, takes me right to the end of the line if I want to add something back onto the line. I don't have to use the over arrows. Now you can always use the over arrows and move around up and down. Move back and forth in a line. But if you want to go right to the end, it's a simple $. Or if you're going to go to the beginning, again, it's a simple 0. Takes you to the beginning. All right. We've done that. We've done do, redo. Let's talk about cut, copy, and paste. Oh, there was something I was going to show you here. We talked about search and replace here. Let me expand this a little bit. This is a little bit small. Let's go ahead and zoom the view in a little bit. Okay, turn that back off. I'm going to do a :1 to get up to the very first one, first line here. And let's say that I wanted to, I'm going to change I'm working in Ansible, and I want to move things from a playbook into a play file, separate, task file or play file. One thing I can do is I can remove a bunch of indentation. The easiest way to do that, if I want to do search and replace, we can do the :S for search, and then we're going to replace, we want to actually do a %S, because we want to search every single line, and we're going to replace the first 2 empty spaces in a line, okay? And I'm going to replace it with nothing, and it doesn't need to be G because we're just doing the first one. So there we go. I'm going to hit enter, and ta-da! I just moved everything over by 1 space, or by 2 spaces. Okay? Oops, I did substitutions on 46 lines. Yep, there we go. So it moved the Elasticsearch over. So Elasticsearch was indented. Let me hit U so you can see what we did there. There's U. There's what it was like. That's what the search found. And when we do a Control-R, you can see that we just moved everything out by 2 spaces. So again, there's a great use of the upper caret, using the searching for the upper caret space, or if you want to replace, you can do the : and replace the first two spaces with nothing. All right. So simple use of the, now we want to keep this that way, we want to fix this, so I'm going to hit escape here and hit U to put everything back where it was. So there's a cut copy. Now let's talk about copying and replacing. Let's go ahead and look at this file here. I'm going to do a slash and just a, let's do a Z just to get rid of that. There we go, pattern not found. All right, let's go ahead and do a cut and paste. Now we're looking at this, and if you look at this file, it's maybe new to you, something you haven't seen before. It's a document configuration file. The first one is Elasticsearch, so from 2 to 17, it's defining the first container that it's going to build. The next one's going to defining the log stash container from 18 through right down through, let's see, 36. It's defining the log stash container, and then it's defining a Kibana container, and it's also defining networks at the bottom. What we're going to do is we're going to look at this file and we'll say, hey, you know what? I really want to take my Elasticsearch container, and I want to delete the whole thing. I just want to delete the container. So one way of deleting the container, if I look at this, it's 17 is the last line, 2 is the first line, so 17 minus 2 is 15. I can do D15 and hit enter, and bing, I just deleted it. Now what I did is actually I cut it. So if I said, I really want to paste it somewhere else, I can say I want to paste it. I'm going to hit the letter P here, and it's going to paste it down here. Okay, so I just cut and pasted a whole section of code from one spot to another. Very simple. Again, using command line. Now, I say I don't like that. Oh, I'm going to undo that. I can hit the U. It removes my paste. Hit another U. It removes my cut. Let's look at log stash. Let's say, hey, you know what? I want to move log stash. Now, if I look at these, I can see that this one says log stash right on line 32 here says it depends on Elasticsearch. So I probably need the Elasticsearch up at the top. My Kibana also depends on Elasticsearch, but it doesn't depend on log stash. So maybe I want to move my log stash below my Kibana. Okay, so we're looking at log stash. It starts at line 18. I'm going to go 18. 36 minus 18 is 18. So I'm going to do D18 and hit enter. That just removed it. I'm going to go to line 26 and I want to paste this right there. So I'm going to hit P. I'm going to paste it starting at line 27, hit P, and it pastes it after the current line that I was on. Okay, so I just cut log stash and pasted it in after Kibana for this container. All right. Now, what if I want to copy? Let's say that I've got Kibana here, and I have another container I want to create that's going to be very similar to Kibana, and I'm kind of copy the same things. Now, we're going to use what's called YY, which is yank, and this one's a little bit different. Unlike deleting or the cutting, I actually have to have the same number of lines. So you can't take 26 minus 18. It won't quite work. You really have to count the number of lines, and usually what it is you take 26 minus 18, then add 1. So 26 minus 18 is 12. Add 1. Is that right? No, that's not right at all. 26 minus 18 is 8. Add 1 is 9. So I'm going to do a 9. YY for yank, and you can see at the bottom here it says 8 lines yanked. Now, did I hit 9? Maybe I did hit 8 YY. Let's hit 9. Yeah, I probably fat fingered YY. Okay, now it says 9 lines yanked. And let's see if we've got this right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes, that was correct. So again, do your math, and when you're doing yank, you have to add 1 to it. And I want to paste it down here, so I'm just going to hit P again, right there. And it's going to paste it right after the last line that I'm on. Just hitting the letter P. Again, I'm not in edit mode. There's no insert down below here, so we're not in edit mode. We're just doing cutting, pasting, moving around in this. We're not really editing any of the file. Well, we are, but we're not into the individual edit modes. Now, I'd say, oh, I don't want it there. I actually wanted to paste it above something. I can hit U, so undo. Let's go way up on top here. And let's say I wanted to paste it above Elasticsearch. Well, in this case, I'm going to do a Shift P or uppercase P, and it's going to paste it above. If I don't do that, if I just hit P, it's going to paste it below. And so all of a sudden, this is going to mess everything up because now it's got Elasticsearch and Kibana, and then all the configurations for both of them together. I don't want that. But I can paste it above with a Shift P, and it puts it above or previous to the current one. Hope that's made sense to you. And then I hit U to undo that. So we've got the Kibana, we've got the log stash containers defined. All right, so we've done cut, which is using D and the number of lines. Now, if I want to delete, you can do that too. Now, let's say I want to delete, let's say I'm like, oh, I'm going to completely change the configuration here. Now, remember how we could go to the very end of the file with uppercase G, Shift G? If I hit D and then uppercase G, it's going to delete everything from here down. Okay, so it's going to go to the very end of the file, and so I can use my navigation tools along with my cut or delete tools to remove things. Let's hit undo. Let's go up to the very top and show that again. This time I'm going to use the, we're going to start with, I want to remove everything. And let's say I want to delete, so we're at 18, I want to remove it to 2, so I'm going to delete basically the whole Elasticsearch. So I can do D, and then if we want to go to the very beginning, I can do the 2 brackets, and that's going to take me up there and delete everything up to there. So you can delete up, delete down using either numbers, the number of lines that you want to do, or you can use it like I usually use it at the end. So let's say, you know, I'm here and I'm like, okay, I want everything from here gone. It's D, Shift G, and there. I've just cleaned up my whole, deleted everything after. And again, U is an undo. All right, so we've done all of that. We've pasted above with a pasted below with a P, which again, P paste starting on the next line. Uppercase P starts on the line previous. It pastes it above the current line. You never replace the current line. It either goes above it or below it when you're pasting. Let's talk about edit mode. And so yeah, let's go here. So edit mode here, for easiest way is I. So now let's say I'm up here and I say, okay, I want to do curl silent, and I want to edit this. I can hit I, and if you notice my cursor right now is on the letter L in silent. If I hit I, it puts me in edit mode there. If I start typing, you know, it leaves the L to the right, and it basically starts inserting before the cursor. Okay? So again, silent, if I hit I and insert, it starts inserting before the current cursor. Now, if I escape here, it takes me out of insert mode. You can see the insert at the bottom is gone down here. Now, if I do A, it's basically going to move it after. So let me just hit escape again. I'm on the I this time. Let's move to the L again. If I hit A, it's going to put it in the cursor. It's going to move the cursor and put it in insert mode. Not a lot of difference there, but it usually uses it when you're at the end of a line. So let it hit escape. We'll go to the end of the line with the $sign. And now I want to append. So I don't want to stick things right here. I want to append it to the line, and so then I would start typing here. Okay? Again, A moves it to the right of the current cursor. I basically puts it to the left of the current cursor. Escape, hit undo there. Now there's one other edit mode that is going to be right in line, and let's say that I'm here, and that is the Shift R. The uppercase R is in replace mode. Okay, this is what I call overwrite mode. You can still use your arrow over arrows, but say that I want to replace 9200 with 9100. Okay, I can just replace certain things here. Instead of health, I'm going to go Heath. So I can. This is overwrite mode. I can use my arrows to go back and forth, but then I can delete, you know, and overwrite certain things as I'm going along. Okay, that's the Shift R, and that's in replace mode. Okay, you can see that right down here. Again, to get out of it, hit the escape key, and it gets out of it. The next mode that you want to go into is the open. Open a new line. And to open a new line below, I'm just hit the letter O. Okay. That does two things. One, it starts a new line for me and puts me in insert mode so I can start typing. All right, opens a new line and starts typing. I use that one all the time. Okay, I'm just like, oh, I got to add something else here. I'm just gonna hit O, and it doesn't matter where you are on the previous line. You can be at the end like I was. So let's hit escape and undo. Okay, I can be in. I can be at the middle line. I can begin at the beginning of the line. If I hit O, it's going to open a new one up and puts me in the next line. Now, if I want to go up and above, it's just like the letter P. It's going to use the uppercase O. So again, uppercase Shift O opens the line above. Lowercase o opens the line below. New line puts it into edit mode. So there's 4 ways to get into edit mode. Again, let's look at the first one. Was I insert. That puts you at the current cursor spot. Second one is A for append. That puts you after the current cursor spot. The third one is R for replace. Shift R, uppercase R for replace. That puts you in replace mode. Then you can type or overwrite things. It doesn't change things after. Now you notice if I go up here and DDD, it doesn't move any. It's not inserting. It's in overwrite mode. Okay, so it's overwriting what's currently there. Or if I go into insert mode and start typing, it moves everything over. It's inserting. Even append mode appends and it's inserting. In replace mode, you're just overwriting. Again, use your friend. Lets you undo everything you want to undo. Okay. So we've covered the insert, append, replace, and then again hitting the escape key to get out. Now different versions of Vim, sometimes they're funny. I've had older versions of Vim that I've used in Debian that when I hit the down arrow, all of a sudden weird characters show up. So I have to hit escape, hit undo, and I have to navigate around using the arrows, but I can only edit the current line. And so different versions of Vim, different distros of Linux have, different versions sometimes. And so you'll find that sometimes you'll have something that'll work a little bit different, but it all is very similar. And you'll find most of the commands that we've learned today are the same. Okay, last thing to cover is save and close. Okay, I've made changes to the file. Now, if this is a configuration file, I'm like, I want to change, I'm going to save it, but I don't want to get out of it because I may need to undo something. I made some configuration changes. I'm a little nervous about them. I can do a :W, and that means write, and it'll save those changes. The good thing about that is I can still do with the U and undo the changes. Okay, I can undo my changes yet. So I've written it. I've made changes to it, but I've written it, and I just want to, be able to come back to it. So I've made changes. Now I want to go and restart a service. So again, I would do the Alt-1, go to the thing here, :Q, :Q here. Now to get out of this one and not save it, :Q with an exclamation mark. Okay, this means exit, and all those changes I made to it, I made a ton of changes. I decided I don't want to save it. Now this is a very safe way to do it. If you've gone into this file and you're looking at it as a reference file, you definitely want a :Q exclamation mark, which means don't save any changes. If it's something that you wanted to look at for reference, but you don't want to make any changes to it, or you didn't want any changes made to it, this will verify that if you did accidentally make a change to it, it'll be discarded. So :Q exclamation mark will get you out of there. Now I would restart my service or whatever it was I was working on, that other configuration for 2 here. So I've made changes, I've saved it with a :W, and then I go back to :1. Whoops, let's try :1. I hit Alt instead of colon, sorry about that. :1, I would go and restart the service or whatever and see if it all worked great. Then I could go back to my other one that I was making edits to, and I'd say, okay, I don't have to undo anything. I'm good here. Now I can save it, and I can do a WQ. WQ means write and quit. Now, you can also do :X. :X is the same as WQ, which means write and quit. It's just faster. Okay? So, :W means to write it. It saves it, but it does not exit the file. It keeps the file open in VI. :Q exclamation mark quits it without saving. :WQ means write and quit. Do both commands at once. Colon X does the same thing. It saves it and exits it. Okay. Now, I've seen a lot of students this last couple semesters that are doing colon WQ exclamation mark. Now, I'm not sure where that came from. I'm not sure if they're being taught that somewheres, but there's no purpose because basically you're saying write it, but now quit and don't save. Well, you've already written, so it's not gonna it's still gonna write it, and then it's gonna quit. And since it's already written, there's nothing to not save. It's kind of redundant. Again, I don't know where people have been getting that from, but it's not needed. Colon WQ does the same thing, or colon X, and that's why I actually would prefer to use colon X, and I think it's a better way of doing it. Okay. One more thing that I want to cover in this video, and that is what happens when you exit a file and you shouldn't have. So let's go to again, Alt 2. Let's go ahead and look at the compose file. Let's say that I'm editing this one here. Let's make some changes to it. Let's just put an empty line in it. Doesn't matter. Again, hit the letter O, creates an empty line, hasn't really changed anything. And now I've decided, you know, I don't like this. And I go up here and I click X on the terminal window and I close the terminal window. Okay? So it's not being edited. If I look at all of my terminals here, you can see that I'm not Alt 2. Oh, there's only one terminal window. So there's only one terminal. You can see there's only one terminal. I'm not editing it. If I go into the folder and I do an LL, you can see the file is there. It's composed out by YAML. But if I do an LL space dash A or an LS, we can do the LS space dash A to show all files. You'll see there's a hidden file. I like LL space dash A. You can see there's this file called compose YAML swap. And what the compose YAML swap file is, it's the same thing as like Windows does the autosave, right? VI does an autosave also. And so these are the changes that I've made to the file and they weren't saved. So if I do a VI compose.yaml and hit enter, it's going to say, hey, here's this attention. It found a swap file by the name, and it gives you the name of that file right there, compose YAML swap, owned by me. So obviously I was the one that was editing it when I went out of it incorrectly. It says that another program may be editing it, because when there's a swap file, that typically means it's been in edit mode. You don't want two different instances of it. The edit session for this file crashed. What do we want to do with it? Well, let's say we're going to edit it anyways. I can just hit enter and it'll take me into the edit mode. And you notice that extra space isn't there. Okay? It wasn't saved. It's like, oh, well, let's go ahead and queue out of here. Not make any changes. Let's try VI again. And this time it says, what do you want? Let's recover. Let's hit the R for recover. And it says, okay, you want to continue, hit enter. And now it should have recovered it, and it didn't do a very good job because it still doesn't have the space in it, does it? Oh yeah, it does, right here. It does have it. So it was able to recover the change I made to that. So there's a space there that we added, or an extra line that we added there. Okay, so what do I want to do? Let's go ahead and save it, WQ. So now we've recovered it, we've saved it, we've closed it. Let's go ahead and edit it again. And you'd think, though, okay, I recovered it, I saved it, it should be gone. No, because it's going to keep telling us there's a swap file there. Every single time we go to open this, it's like, what do we do? Okay, it's simple. We're just going to quit. We're going to go and do a LL space dash A. Again, this is Rocky Linux, so you can do LL. And then we're just going to delete it. So it's just a RM to remove it, a dot, COM, and then I'm going to hit autocomplete tab. And it should see, again, dot in the front of it makes it a hidden file. We're just going to delete that file. Just delete it. Now if we go to edit it, there's no more warning that there's a swap file sitting out there. That swap file will sit out there until you delete it. So every time you go to open that file again in the future, it's going to keep warning you, hey, there's a swap file here. So let's go ahead and delete this line. And there we go. Okay. One more thing I'm going to talk about, and that is the vimrc. I'm going to head and open up. Let's go ahead and open up a new window here. I'm going to do the Alt tab. I'm going to open up a new tab here, and I'm going to go back to my tilde. Go back to my home directory, and cd vim. That's the folder we were in. I'm going to open up John Smith again, or John Adams, and we're going to change the view on this a little bit. There we go. And let me get out of that now. So I just want to be able to see that we can get into it. We're going to get out of it. We're going to create a vimrc file. Now, I recommend you go out on the internet and do a quick search on vimrc. We're going to create it by doing vi space dot vimrc. The vimrc file is basically a configuration file that allows us to set certain settings for us that we always want to use as we're using Vim. So in this case, we're going to do, we always want to turn the numbering on. Let's do that. So I'm going to hit I for insert, and I'm going to do set number. Okay, that's always going to turn the numbers on. So every time I open up a file with Vim, it's going to turn the numbering on. That's nice. The other thing I want to do is expand tab. Set expand tab. Okay. Expand tab basically takes the tabs and turns them into spaces, which is really critical for Python and for YAML. If you have tab spaces in your file, or tabs in your file with Python or with YAML, it's going to create problems. It's going to give you errors. So setting a span tab in here is going to replace those tabs with spaces. That's a good thing. The other thing we can do is we can set the tab stop. And then we're going to set it to equals to 2. By default, a lot of times the VI has 4 as a tab stop. So every time you hit tab, it puts 4 spaces in. We want it to be 2. So we're going to set those. Let's go see what the effects of this is. So we've created the vimrc file. If I do an ll space -a, we can see the vimrc file. We've created it right there. It's our default configuration file for Vim. Let's go ahead and, oh, you know what? I'm in the Vim folder. I need to move it to my configuration folder. Let's move it mv.vimrc. I'm going to move it into my home folder. And the easiest way to do that is a /. That makes sure it gets to my home folder. Now, let's go ahead and edit johnadams.txt. And there we go. The line numbering is on. If I hit insert and I hit tab, you'll see that hit the tab button, it's going to see that it moves 2 instead of 4. All right. Now when I backspace, you'll see that it backspaces 1 space each time. So the expand tab is working. If I hit tab once, it's actually just adding 2 spaces instead of putting a tab character in there. And that's important, again, for Python and for YAML. All right, so we've set the number, we've expanded the tab, and we've set our tab stop to 2 with our vimrc file. :Q. Oops, that's :WQ or :Q!, because we've made changes. Even though we went back to what we were, it's recording that there was changes made. We either have to get out and not save changes, or save the changes and get out. In this case, it doesn't matter which one we did because we took it back. So we can do a :WQ or :X to get out. :X saves it and exits. If I go into my home folder here and do an LL, you can see there's all my home folder. If I do a LL space -a, you'll see there's a whole bunch of hidden files in here. There's a .bash history, .bash logout, and then the important one for us is our .vimrc, which is our configuration settings. All right. Any questions on this? I hope you've learned a little bit about this. You've learned about the vimrc. You learned how to navigate around, how to cut, copy, and paste, how to do searches, how to do insert, how to do overwrites, replace, and edit modes. Have a great time with this, and have fun on the quiz.